following program is produced by Marshfield Community Television.
Well, we have another exciting episode today. Sometimes when we're doing different catering events, people will often ask for something that's either gluten-free, sugar-free. So a friend of mine, Gail Lunday, who actually used to work at DW years ago, had a recipe on Facebook one day, and it was for a gluten-free, flourless chocolate cake. And I have made a chocolate cake, but I thought this one sounded pretty intriguing, and I thought I've got to try this. So I immediately got the recipe, and that afternoon I made this gluten-free cake. Yeah. Well, with having our vegetarian daughter-in-law, here part of the time, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to try this out and see what they think. And it's easy.
It's very easy to make.
And you
I haven't
really
even made it, but I've watched it.
Right, would never guess that there's garbanzo beans in this flourless cake. So we're going to get started. Use a food processor. So while I'm putting the first couple of ingredients in the food processor, Gary is going to melt 1.5 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Okay.
Got it. You work on that?
I have a can, a 15.5 ounce can of garbanzo beans, opened, drained, and washed, and ready, or rinsed, and ready to go in the food processor. And to that, I'm going to add 4 eggs. I was amazed at how nicely this turned out, and just a couple of other ideas that we're going to use with the finished product. But the other chocolate flourless cake that I've made is very rich, turned out really nicely. It was actually, I think, more dense than what this one is, but I think anybody that tries this one, they'll like it. In fact, our daughter-in-law Alana was saying that one of her friends one time made a flourless cake and had black beans in it, and she said that wasn't quite as nice tasting as what this one was. Okay, so this is going to make some noise, so we're going to just turn it on to high and just let it stir up until it's all nicely incorporated, and we'll see how it goes. You want to make sure that the garbanzo beans are all really mixed in there, because otherwise it will be a little bit lumpier than what you want. You'll turn it off and then stir it. It has a nice yellow look after it has mixed for a while. You can just scrape down whatever might be on the side, and it really looks really like it did a nice job mixing in. I'm just going to pulse it just one more time, and then we'll add our next ingredients. Okay, after this, I actually can just put this on top. So after you have the garbanzo beans and eggs all blended well, then we are going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and mix that in again just until it's thoroughly mixed. This is so easy. You hadn't made this yet.
No.
Well, I had the
And
surprise.
because I was melting chocolate.
That's right, because I had the surprise for you and Matthew and Alana the first time I made
it was one of
this.
those things where she came out with plates of this cake, and she says, now everybody has to guess what they think the secret ingredient is. And it's like, well, I have no idea. It tastes like any other chocolate cake, so I just started throwing things out like, oh, probably zucchini or something like that, but I had no idea. And when you said garbanzo, it's like, okay, that makes sense.
That's pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting, and that makes sense because you're looking for some substitute for flour.
So when I bake or cook, I always like to try to conserve on the number of bowls and things that I use.
Yeah.
So if you have a Pyrex or some kind of a glass measuring cup, you can put 1.5 cups of chocolate chips in your measuring cup, and then just stick that right in the microwave. And you microwaved it on high for
about a minute and a half.
Just-
Stirring a
yep.
couple of times in between that, just to make sure it gets melted evenly.
It says actually, to stir it about every 20 seconds until it's melted. Kind of sticks a little bit here to the side. Get that off here in a minute. I want to try to keep it from getting all over that center blade so it doesn't, so we don't lose any of the chocolate.
Right.
Okay, I think
Okay.
that's good enough. Oh, there I did it.
Now what? Now do you just
Then we're just
blend
going
this
to
again?
blend it until all of the chocolate is blended well. And then you'll just stir it, when it's done,
Can I pulse it? Let me just pulse it a couple
a couple times. Okay, that's
Good?
good. That's good. So you can just kind of scrape down a little bit, the top, so you can get all of your
Waste not, want
your
not.
batter in there. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you
Well,
can
you want to take that to the?
can
Whoops.
take that.
Sorry about that.
Sure.
Take that over. Okay. Get that off. Get our base out of the way. Okay, the recipe calls for using a 9-inch pan, which you are going to let it set up, and then you'll invert it onto a plate. But I actually like using my springform pan, and I have this is actually a Pampered Chef brand that has a glass bottom, so your serving plate is actually right there,
Right on top.
too.
Just pop the sides off and you can have the cake.
So I'm just going to stir this a little bit. I'm going to take off. This could get
could be a mess.
really messy.
Let me just
Okay.
take this down.
All right, so I'll let you kind of take
I'll
that,
work
that
on this.
part off. I'm just going to stir this around a little bit here.
That's one thing you have to be careful using a food processor. You have the pin in the middle, or the hole, I should say,
Why don't you take the smaller?
where you put the blade
Spatula
into.
if
You
you
have to
want.
watch out so the chocolate doesn't run through that hole.
Here, I'll let you hit the smaller one. Might be
Okay.
easier to get that off.
That would work
There you go.
well, thank you.
So you could actually make this on your own if you needed a special dessert sometime if I'm gone and you want to surprise me and have something nice.
Sure, I could do that. Like going where? Like you wouldn't take
Just
vacation without me, would
visiting,
you?
no,
No,
just
of
for a
course
day or
not.
so maybe.
Oh, there you go.
I was also thinking that because we're doing different events, coming up, and we'd like to kind of cut back on the sugar and the flour if possible. I haven't tried this with Splenda yet, or some kind of other sugar substitute, but
Oh, that would be
I
perfect.
thought it really would work out well if you had some dietary
Yeah.
issues that you couldn't have any, or
have
you
sugar-
wanted
you'd
the
have
sugar
sugar-free,
and
gluten-free.
Yep.
All in one cake.
And we've done that
well.
with a couple of cheesecakes that I've made that are sugar-free and gluten-free, and this would be perfect with that. So the next time I make it, we'll do that. So we'll get this all out, and we're
And then
going.
we can talk about on another show if you did succeed in a
Yes.
Splenda type cake, a sugar-free cake with the garbanzo beans.
Sometimes the downside, I think, when we do something that has quite a bit of sugar in it, you use the equal amount of Splenda that you would to your regular, granulated sugar. And I think sometimes some of the sugar substitutes can give it almost like a little bitter taste,
Right.
But
Okay.
I guess that's what you have to
Just kinda
do.
shake it a
With
little
this
bit.
pan, I have to be careful because the spring springs off really
So
easily.
keep my hand on that.
No, keep your hand off of that.
Keep my hand off. Use the handles.
Because if that comes open, we are going to have chocolate gluten-free cake all over the floor.
Gluten-free
So,
floor, that's
Gluten-free
right.
floor. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the oven and bake for 40 minutes at 350 degrees. And sometimes we'll, try it after about 35 minutes, or so.
So now in the meantime, while it's baking 40
and then
minutes,
one
we should
other,
probably
one other second here.
piece.
So otherwise, I would use a 9-inch pan,
Okay.
a 9-inch, pan. Some people, if you don't make cheesecake, you might not have a springform pan. So just any regular
Yeah.
9-inch pan, okay?
Do you flour it or not?
Just grease.
Just grease. Okay.
Right, and that's the same you do with the spring form.
Gotcha.
Okay, so now if you want to, we'll get our dessert ready.
The
We're
one
going to
we-
show them
The
one
we
that's
made
done.
earlier, so we can have a little slice.
Exactly.
Ta-da.
And that is how it's going to look. And what I actually did with the first one that we made, I just dusted it with powdered sugar. So if you want to bring over the can of powdered sugar, please. And it is sitting on the glass. And I actually put, sometimes if I'm taking it out like on a spring bottom,
Yeah.
I will put just, this is actually like a liner, you know, from
It's like
your
kitchen
cupboard.
cupboard liners,
Right.
shelf liners.
So sometimes when we're
nice
doing
and
different
tacky.
things, if you don't want your plate to slide around, then you just can cut a circle and your plate stays.
Easy.
Okay, and we do that quite often with
Right.
the various things that we
Okay,
make.
You're gonna do the honors?
Right.
Okay.
So what we did last week when I tried this, I just dusted it with powdered sugar. So that's what we'll do on this. It cracked a little bit, but that's all right. I think that's just because of the ingredients and baking it. So you can just dust it
Okay,
like that.
easy.
But for some fun upcoming events, I thought we could also do something a little bit different. So we're going to just cut a piece like that. And it's fairly rich, so you don't need a really large piece.
Okay.
So you can probably get, I mean, if you wanted, 14 to 16 pieces. This will be a little bit healthier piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to get, since you'll probably eat this, I'm just going to put these crumbs right there, okay? And here I always thought it was the other way around, cleaning up
no.
after your messes.
Oh, no, not usually.
Oh, okay, all right. So we've got a couple more chocolate pieces that I
You're gonna
just,
cover those up with
yeah.
some raspberries.
Okay, so to make it a little bit special, again, to cut down on some of the fat, the sugar, we're going to use just a non-dairy whipped topping. If I was serving this for my own,
For
probably
your family, you would, of course, you get
real whipping cream, yes. So we're just going to put a nice dollop of non-dairy whipped topping, and then you can just kind of put a couple of raspberries on the side,
Save room
and
for
like
some mint.
so. And then we're just going to have,
I'm gonna take a sprig of, this is peppermint.
and then for your final little garnish, then we're going to put a little mint leaf on there from your garden.
From the garden.
And that
There.
is our gluten-free chocolate cake.
How simple is that?
That was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was
What
going to
else?
mention what we could also do if you wanted to enhance it. We could have a two-layered cake.
Mm-hmm.
So then we could still have the flourless cake.
Right.
Maybe add our coconut pecan, frosting that we make for a German chocolate cake.
Okay. There's no no flour
And there's
in the
no
frosting,
flour in the
so that would
frosting
work.
either, so you can add that.
Right.
You could have a raspberry sauce like we make sometimes. So it's,
That would be really simple.
and if
to
we
do.
actually wanted to frost it, we could have our fudge
Yeah.
frosting.
Yeah.
So the ideas are really limitless. So you can just do whatever
Great.
is fun, whatever the kids like, whatever your guests might want to see.
Good.
So
Excellent.
that's it. So that was a nice, I think, easy dessert. And when
Right.
our kids come home, we'll surprise them by having some extra things on there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Are you gonna have a bite of that? Or
Did-
is that just for show?
That's just for show.
Okay. All right, maybe after the show.
Maybe after the show.
Can't wait.
So I hope everybody can enjoy this beautiful day that we're having. The last couple of days have been awesome. We've
Yeah.
actually opened up our windows and there's been a nice breeze coming in.
Mhm.
So I
Sunshine,
love
75
that.
degrees, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this almost every day in Wisconsin, isn't
Exactly.
it?
Yeah.
Not.
So anyway, I hope you
Anyway.
enjoyed this episode of Cooking with Ruth and making our flourless chocolate cake. So until next time, happy baking.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna move back and forth here with the camera.
Gary,
this is kind of fun.
That's not going to work, I don't think.
Don't
Come
wreck
on, don't wreck the camera. Don't
Okay,
wreck
here we
the-
go. Ooh,
you got-
there's a
I think
good
you're
one.
missing the dessert.
Oh yeah, I'm missing the dessert. There we go.
Awesome.
There we
What
go.
do you think,
Thumbs up.
guys?
I like
Is it
the
good?
thumbs up.
Is it as good as the last time we had you try this? Very good.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, I think we could be videographers.
I think we could. That'll
Let's-
be our next thing that we're
That'll
going
be
to
our
do.
next career after we're done.
Yeah.
After we're done with the cooking shows.
Okay, I think this is a wrap. And clear.
Crystal clear. All right.